21st Century Fiction by the Amazons. And this was Carl's pick. So over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I mentioned back in our album of the year episodes, this was the most, or yeah, this was my most anticipated album for this year. A band I've seen go from, unsigned, playing to a handful of people to now being, for my money, like one of the best rock bands operating today. Certainly one of the best live performances I've seen. I've seen them 17 times, the most I've ever seen anyone. So I mean, that's a testament to just how much I rate their live show. But yeah, one of my favorite bands, a band that I hold very dear. And yeah, it's one of those that just because I feel like I've been on this journey with them, almost like a proud dad, like watching from the stands this whole time. Each time we break,
Six Dad.
yeah, Six Music Dads watching the Amazons from the stands, as they've just released project after project. And I think this was one where the signs were there that this was going to be a step up from anything that they had done before. The two singles that they had at the end of last year, Living a Lie, which here is like this cinematic opener, these like thunderous kind of like industrial guitars that come in. And then, the second single, Pitch Black, with the, bluesy stomp, big chorus, and then that, just absolutely incredible guitar solo at the end. Straight away, like, became one of my favorite songs of theirs. Just absolutely adore that track. So yeah, my expectations were high, and then every other single after that, it was like, Love is a Dog from Hell, Night After Night. Then we had My Blood, which features Royal Blood on drums and production. Every single song, it was like they're knocking it out of the park with these. And so for me going into this one, I was already like, well, if the remaining few tracks are at this level, then this is going to be the best album that they've done. And yeah, for me, it is exactly that. I mean, without going into too much of the context of the record, I've read in interviews that from frontman Matt Thompson said they approached this album like it was going to be their last album. As we know these days, bands, you just don't know if you'll get a chance to make another record. So yeah, they kind of had this existential crisis. It's not easy being a rock band in 2025. And I think, that sense and that mood kind of runs right through the record. Although they nod to, other things that like, social media misinformation and doom scrolling and, all these things that the title 21st Century Fiction kind of suggests. For me, it's very much a personal record. There's that angry and like defiant spirit that shines through. It's that feeling of, we're not going to watch this band just die out without a fight. We're not going to take a back seat to all these, nostalgia rock bands anymore. We're coming to own this, and we're not going to wait for our turn anymore. I think that feeling just really resonates in the music. They leave nothing off the table, yeah. And I'll just quickly shout out some of the star performances on here. Chris Alderton, for me, has long been, one of the best lead guitarists in the game. But I think this is the album where he really proves it and like makes it undeniable on this record. Wake Me Up, for me, it just might be the best song that they've ever made. Just when my favorite bit is just when you think it's wrapping up towards the back end of that track, and then all of a sudden Chris just comes in with this other guitar passage that's even more mind-blowing than the one that you just heard. It's just, absolutely sensational. And then if that's not enough, we get Joe Bought a Gun straight after as well, with those super heavy riffs that just, they just metaphorically grab you by the collar, shake you about. So yeah, big shout out to Chris. But then also want to shout out Alan McRobb, whose vocals are a new addition to the Amazon sound for this album. She's an up and coming singer songwriter who's under the same management. The Amazons are a big fan of her voice. Got her on this record, and I think she is just spectacular. From the opening cries on "Living a Lie" to the breakdown on "Pitch Black" and "My Blood," I think her harmonies just add so much to this collection of songs. And yeah, last but not least, Matt himself, I think lyrically and vocally, it's the best work he's done. And the one that kind of culminates it for me is "Go All the Way," which is very much, it's kind of like this centerpiece for the record, even though it's the closer. It's kind of like, I feel like it's the song that captures that feeling of the record. The blood boiling passion and emotion in his voice on that song, it just radiates through your headphones. And, when it gets to that point in the song, it just gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. You can hear how much like this means to him. And yeah, just an outstanding song and just an epic way to close out the record. And yeah, so yeah, this is one of those where it's one of my favorite bands making the best album they've ever done, and I just couldn't be happier with it. It's ambitious, it's cinematic. I think from a skill point of view, I think it's hugely impressive, jaw dropping at times on the guitars front, as I mentioned. And yeah, I don't think there's a bad song on here. I think the way it's structured with like the interlude passages that kind of gives you those much needed moments to kind of catch your breath, and before you're on to the next, big hitting rock track. But then it also ties it all together and brings a sense of cohesiveness to the record as well. So yeah, absolutely love it. Love the Amazons, and there's a good chance come December this might be my album of the year.
Oof.
Love it.
So delivering for Carl, did it deliver for you, Kylie?
I'm going to keep it easy and breezy because Carl, I've known for the last year how much you've been looking forward to this record. I think a lot of the things that you brought up, I do agree with. I think Chris Alderton is an amazing guitarist and has some phenomenal tone on this record. And then also Ben Thatcher, because I was thinking almost every song for me, besides the guitars, the drums were the standout, and Ben Thatcher's from Royal Blood. So I think it seems like they don't have a steady drummer, maybe for studio stuff right now. And I think he did a great job.
Well, it's
on this
George, I think it's George Clark.
George LePage.
Or George LePage, that's the one. Yeah, I think he's
Is he the one touring with them?
Yeah, I think he's the one who's. But yeah, Ben Thatcher's on My Blood for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the two of them, just really great work. I think more than anything, this is just a classic culture clash for me. This kind of anthemic UK stuff is something that I haven't really ever been drawn to. Like, I think a lot of it reminds me of, Muse in some ways. Some of it reminded me of, can't remember the name of the band, Bono Juniors.
Inhaler.
Inhaler, a little bit of that. But yeah, I think it's just, for me, this record is just, it's kind of relentless. I don't disagree that Matthew Thompson is an amazing vocalist, but like every single song to be so over the top anthemic is just, it's too much for me. And I think when you talk about Wake Me Up being their favorite song you've ever had, like, to me, that's kind of where just the record kind of gets stuck. And I'm like, I don't know. Also, Love is a Dog from Hell. The thing I really appreciate about that is that song alone seems to have gotten them some alt country tags, which I think is really funny. And it's kind of a fun song that doesn't really, fit in with the rest of the record. So enjoyed, the boldness with that one. Then Go All the Way. the note I had on that one for the first half was like a you know, an Oasis ballad from their last couple of records that I think people have forgotten about when they're clamoring for this reunion. So anyway, I think it finishes strong, and I think the album should have been called "Go All the Way" because they really do on every song here. I think it'd been a good fit for them. So yeah, I think there's parts of it that I appreciate, and I think they're a really talented band. Just for my listening preferences, wasn't necessarily my thing.
There we go, 1-1 in terms of the reviews here for 21st Century Fiction. I also went in with a little bit of caution, knowing how much, Carl, you're a fan of the Amazons, and I've never really kind of gone beyond sort of. I saw a bit of them at Reading, I think, one year, enjoyed it, but I've never kind of gone beyond that and listened to them for a full album like I have done here. But happily for you, Carl, this is one which really has kind of won me over, and yeah, I was loving it, I gotta say. Just add a third chorus of approval for Chris Alderton and what he's doing, shredding on the guitar here. It's fantastic. It's kind of straight down the line rock, which I kind of feel there's maybe not enough of, and explains one of the reasons why I'm such a fan of Ty Segall in that respect. But yeah, I just grew to really love this album. I think you mentioned, most of the tracks which really fly. Living a Lie and Night After Night just really, sets the bar. But if anything, I think it's kind of from Wake Me Up, in opposite to yourself, Carly, in the sense that from that point on, that's where I feel that the album really soars. And then Joe Bought a Gun. I was listening to that when I was doing this review, and on my headphones on the train, and that was one where I just had the hairs go up on the back of my neck. Just that song for me, possibly best song of the year so far for me. I just love the drama, the build up. It's one of those classic kind of 3-minute 30 kind of numbers, which they say is the magic song number. Well, and this one, that's what I felt, and just I haven't felt that kind of visceral reaction, I think, to any sort of music probably since I listened to Sipo's album for the first time, which we reviewed about a year and a half ago. So just that one, fantastic. Love Is a Dog from Hell, great fun, as you say, Kylie. And then Heaven Now. I actually had in this one, and this probably touches upon some of the critique from yourself, Carly, that there was a nature of Muse and Queen to it. So that kind of full throttle, and I suppose if that kind of rock is not really your bag, then this won't really be for you. I'm probably more Muse than Queen, or at least old Muse. But yeah, this for me is just it's kind of classic rock, but in the 21st century, and just hits so many of the things I would want to hear in an album. Touch upon the themes as well. There's a lot. It's pretty much fixed to relationships ultimately, and a bit of this should I stay or should I go kind of rumination. But yeah, really compelling, and one which will be in the running also for me, I think, when it comes to the end of the year.